How many of you have set goals in the past and you come right up, but the fear inside stops you and you back away? How many of that happened to? Everyone has experienced that. You know, Abraham Maslow one time said you will either step forward into growth or you'll step back into safety. That safety could be a prison. Here we're talking about risks. Says to laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To weep is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach out to others is to risk getting involved. To show your feelings is to risk exposing yourself. To place your ideas, your dreams before the crowd is to risk their loss. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To hope is to risk pain. To try is to risk failure. But risk must be taken. It absolutely must be taken, because the greatest hazard in life is to risk nothing. The person who risks nothing does nothing and has nothing. You may avoid suffering and sorrow, but you simply cannot learn, feel, change, grow, live, or love. Chained by your certitudes, you will be a slave. Only the person who risks is free. You want to really be consciously aware of what you're doing. Is it a habitual thing you're doing every day? Is that what's controlling your life, your destiny? Or are you choosing and going in the direction of your dreams? He said our habit of thinking about ourselves and our environment is either a jail or a paradise. We just have to look around us to see people who are rich emotionally and materially because they think and feel rich. We also see people who are laden with emotional and material debt because they think lack. Some are inspired with vision. Others, unfortunately, are encumbered by doubt. Some are moved by ambition. Others are paralyzed by fear. Some feel free to change. Others feel safer in monotony. Some reach for the mountaintops. Others huddle in the pits. Some seek opportunity. Others just wait for it to knock. The sad fact is that more people are confined by their thoughts than are freed by them. Negative thinking shuts us in a prison. But there is a way out. Transform by the renewal of your mind. Most of us are conditioned, and remember what conditioning is, nothing but a mass of habits. We're conditioned to take all of our information from our sensory factors. We have been programmed on a physical level from the time we're children. Look at me, listen to this. Don't you see that? And that's how we're trained and conditioned to learn. So it's natural that we should let our material, our physical, or our results control our thinking. Now we know there are two polarities. I pointed out on this side is ignorance, and its polar opposite is knowledge. Now an ignorant person does not understand that they can operate with their intellectual factors. They can choose the picture and get emotionally involved, and they can see the results come about in their life. They don't understand that they're letting their results control their thinking. So they set a goal, but then they look for the signals that it's going to happen. Where they start to look at the empty bank account, the wealth, it's no good. It's not there. We don't know if we're going to have enough money to keep going. And what we do at that point, we forget our goal and we start to worry. And then we doubt ourselves. And it's a negative experience. It's a psychic disease. That worry instantly and automatically turns into an emotional state called fear. Now keep in mind, you're working with the central nervous system. It is the most incredible electrical system in the universe. This can happen in less than a millisecond, and there's 1,000 of them in a second. That energy that we call fear, that negative energy, must be expressed through the only medium it can be expressed through, and that's this thing that you live in, your physical body. And it expresses itself in a negative vibration that's more commonly known as anxiety. I had someone talk to me here just about an hour ago about anxiety. That's the cause of anxiety. Worry isn't the cause. Fear is not the cause. Ignorance is the cause. Not knowing. Most of us are afraid to admit our ignorance. Develop your strengths, manage your weaknesses. How do we eliminate ignorance? It's very basic and very simple. We study. We study and we develop understanding. And the understanding tells us, quit let your outside world, don't let your outside world, don't let previous or present results control your thinking. Visualize what you want, get emotionally involved with it. The understanding leads to faith, and the faith manifests on the physical plane as health or well-being. You can literally transform the state of health that your body's in. I've seen people that close to death's door change it. I've watched people who are in terrible state literally change their life. Now, we're going to run through a mental process that every one of us have experienced. I'm not going to talk to you about something you do not know about. I'm going to talk to you about something you do know about. You may not know how to stop what happens, but it's happened to every one of us. It's happened to you. In our little life, we had all kinds of ideas programmed in here. Then we began to think. What kind of thoughts would we think? We would think thoughts that were in harmonious vibration with the conditioning we already had. It's natural for a person to think X-type thoughts, X being the unknown factor. So it would apply for all of us. If our mind is programmed, our subconscious is programmed with X-type conditioning, it would make sense that we would think X-type thoughts. Why would we? Well, by thinking X-type thoughts, those thoughts, when they're mixed with the conditioning, set up a vibration that we're used to. That's called the comfort zone. It might not give you the results you want, and in fact probably won't. But it's comfortable. Do you know you can be comfortable getting very inferior results? You can be very comfortable in a relationship you totally dislike. Why do you think people stay together that don't even like each other? Why do you think a person stays on a job they don't like? It's comfortable. They're used to it. There's no risk. They know how to do it. Going after the bigger job might be scary. Keep thinking. Now, let's bring this ahead. We said this was bondage. It's prison. Now, this is what we call reason. We have sensory factors. You can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Here we've got the person with the X-type conditioning, X-type vibration that produces X-type behavior, that produces X-type results. We have the ability to choose thinking this way or this way. We can think of how we can get what we want, or we can spend time thinking of why we can't. As long as an idea was just here in our conscious mind, it would have absolutely no effect on how we felt or anything we did, because it's right here in our consciousness. Now, this is also called the educated mind or the intellectual mind. This is the part that reasons, that thinks. Now, do you know you could put a Y-type idea in there, Y being much better than the old conditioning. The Y-type idea represents what you're doing now. And every time you thought about it, you probably thought about the compensation that it would give you. But you see, it's generally much better than you ever even think it will be. But before you can act on a Y-type idea, it must go through that part of your personality. You'll never act on an idea without passing it through here. It is the power that doeth the work. Remember that? And every time he went to impress that idea, the Y-type idea on the X-type energy, you know what that did? That instantly and automatically affected his entire nervous system. It set up a chaotic vibration. We'll call it a foreign vibration. It's an X-Y-type vibration, mental conflicts, and instantly and automatically doubt, fear, and anxiety just zoomed through his system. It happened so fast, he didn't even know what was happening. You've got to justify staying here some way. So you do something called rationalizing. That's rationing lies to your mind. Do you know that I started to study these ideas just a few months before Brian was born? And a big change took place in my life just a few months after he was born. What did Zucker say? There's two classes, no class in first class. I made up my mind that I was going to program some ideas into their little minds that were a lot different than the ones I had programmed into mine. Now, this is saying nothing against my parents. They gave me everything they had. You cannot give a person something you do not have. If we traveled I had them fly in the front of the plane, first class. We would take them to nice restaurants to eat, because I had to learn after I was an adult how to eat in a nice restaurant. I didn't know which piece of cutlery to pick up first. I would be asked if I wanted something. When the waiter or waitress first came, I didn't even know what the word meant. I would take them to beautiful resorts. I was going into New York one time, and I took Brian and Raymond with me. I had Joe, the guy who used to take us to New York all the time. I said, Joe, I want to keep you for the day. I'll bring the boys down. I want you to take them around. Moved to England, moved to the United States, always traveling. They always were in nice cars. I don't think they know what a used car means. Nice homes, nice clothes. That's all I give them. Somebody will say, oh, wow, yeah, it's Proctor's kid. He can afford to buy a couple of houses. You're right, he can. And not because he's my kid, because he got the ideas. He and Leslie study it all the time. Colleen does what she wants. Raymond does what she wants. I never went to college. Nobody in our family ever went to university. So there was never much talk about going to university. Linda helped me with that idea. We didn't talk to them whether they were going to go. We talked to them where they were going to go. See, we had to make a choice. Which one do you want to go to? Not do you want to go or not. And if that's all you talk to them about, they make a choice. Colleen chose Illinois State. Raymond chose Wilfrid Laurier. Now he tells me he wants to be a lawyer. He's in his last year in Wilfrid Laurier. Al didn't have the benefit of that kind of teaching, and neither did I. Don't think just because you hear what I'm saying and you can repeat a bit of it that you know it. You see, as you impress the bigger idea, the old conditioning becomes weaker. And as we keep doing it, and if we will keep impressing it, even although it appears that everything outside is remaining the same, our inner eye of understanding tells us it's not the same, that it is becoming weaker. Now, I want you to think, even although you experience some doubt and fear and anxiety, you understand what's causing that. It's the change that's taking place in the mind. That's what Paul talked about, the renewal of the mind. Now, Thoreau one time said something that is so rich with truth. He said, if you will endeavor to live the life you have imagined, that's the new idea, the why idea. He said, any person who advances confidently, and you've got to do it with confidence, and that comes with understanding. Any person who will advance confidently in the direction of their dream and endeavor to live the life they imagined, they will meet with success unexpected in common hours. Now watch this, because one day you're going to wake up and everything will have changed. Just like that. And your life will never be the same. That's the way it works. That's called awakening. He said, I couldn't give you what I've got because you got too much of what you got. But if you work with it just a little bit at a time, I guarantee you'll bust through that terror barrier that, I might add, you were born into. You see, we are created in a magnificent vibration, in an absolutely magnificent vibration. Born risk takers, free. That conditioning takes place after birth. You can change it. It takes guts. It takes goals. That's exactly the way it works. Abundance is our birthright. Now, if you're going to change, you know there's only one time to do it? Right now. Right now. He said, are you in earnest? Then seize this very minute what you can do, or even dream you can do, and begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Only engage, and the mind will grow heated. Begin, and the work will be completed. Emerson said, do the thing, and you'll get the energy to do the thing. You can go busting through this, and I'm going to tell you, with this understanding that you've got, then that you're heightening, that you're developing higher and higher and higher again, you can turn it into an awareness and enthusiasm. It does not have to be a terror barrier. It can just excite the daylights out of you. If it's intellectual or physical or academic, power's within you. You got to write out your commitment. A commitment is a directive to yourself. It's a directive to yourself. I remember one time reading somewhere that the mark of a superior performer is a person that can give themselves a command and then follow it. No difference whether your goal is starting a new business, buying a new automobile, a position at work, setting a sales record, or earning an honors mark in school. Whatever it may be, you must step out boldly and pursue it. This show is only one small step in the direction of greater things you can do, many of which are beyond your wildest dreams. And motivation and education leads to wise decisions and intelligent action, and enables us to enjoy the prosperity which is our birthright. Now we say, keep reminding yourself that you have tremendous reservoirs of potential within you, and therefore you are quite capable of doing anything you set your mind to. You really can. I don't care what the cynics tell you. Quit listening to some of your peers. Want to shoot a better golf game? Quit golfing with your friends. Now, all you must do is figure out how you can do it, not whether you can or not. Just think of how you can. Forget about whether you can or not. You know you can. You just have to find out how. Begin to visualize yourself as a risk taker, and then starting telling yourself that you are one. Become fully aware of the good vibrations you get simply by virtue of practicing these simple exercises. Your circumstances may not be congenial, but they will not long remain so if you perceive an ideal and strive to reach it. Now, you're going to make some major exciting moves. You've been thinking about them. You're committing yourself to it. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? You've got to create a sense of urgency. I'm going to do it right now.
Many, many years ago, there's a great story told about a guy named Charles Schwab, who was the president of Bethlehem Steel and eventually put together the package called U.S. Steel. And he was approached by a guy named Ivy Lee. Ivy Lee walked in and he said, Mr. Schwab, I believe that we have an idea that could dramatically increase your business, he said, beyond where it is. And the most interesting thing about that is that when Schwab said to him, well, we already know what it is we should be doing, but if you can show us a better way of getting it done, we'll listen to you and pay you anything within reason. Well, Ivy Lee took out a sheet of paper and he started to write on it. And he said, now I want you to get out a sheet of paper. Now he said, what I'd like you to do, Mr. Schwab, is write down the 6 most important things you have to do tomorrow. Schwab did as requested. Now he said, first thing tomorrow morning, I want you to take out that list. And he said, you'll have them numbered in priorities. Priority A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now he said, I want you to work on number 1. And don't go to number 2 until you complete number 1. He said, then you try the idea, put it to work for 60 days, send me a check for whatever you think the idea is worth. 60 days later, Ivy Lee received a letter stating that the lesson had been the best he had ever learned from a business point of view. And he enclosed a check for $25,000. Now I want you to write down the 6 most important things you have to do tomorrow. That could be the razor's edge difference for you. But you see, there is such a small difference in the people that are actually coming up with the results versus the people that are not getting the results. What is the difference in person B and we'll say person A? What is the basic difference? I mean, they both have, we'll say, the same aptitude, same education, maybe come from the same neighborhood, may work in the same company, they may have even gone to the same schools. But it seems that person A, they just keep on achieving, even though they have great adversities, but person B never really gets off the launching pad. What is the basic difference in these two people? Well, I believe it's the razor's edge, that there is such a fine line that separates people. Now, I'm going to give you one simple little formula that will act as the razor's edge difference for you. Just one. That's all, just one. Now, here it is. The common denominator of success. A very simple formula, not an easy one, but a very simple one. It works like this. A man wrote a marvelous little book, 20 pages, and he entitled it The Common Denominator of Success. And he said the common denominator of success in his business, your business, my business, any business, is in forming the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. Now think about this. Failures, this individual is influenced in pleasing methods only, whereas this person, the success type individual, they're influenced by pleasing results only. They have formed the habit of doing things that this person does not like to do. Think about it. Are you influenced by pleasing results, or are you influenced by pleasing what is called methods? What are you influenced by? Are you influenced by where you're going, or are you influenced in defending where you are? Because the razor's edge difference could be just one simple action that you do every single day. The 6 most important things that are going to move you in the direction of your goal. And that's basically what it comes down to. It says you are likely 1 inch, 1 step, 1 idea away from turning on to the boulevard of beauty in your life. It has often been said that that line which separates winning from losing is as fine as a razor's edge, and it really is. Somerset Maugham wrote an entire book entitled A Razor's Edge, and Darryl F. Zanuck spent $4 million producing a movie which had the same title. Both of these great people, author and movie maker alike, knew there wasn't a big difference among people. There was only a difference in the things that they accomplished. And that was the theme of the movie as well as the book. One person just about starts a project. Well, are you one that just about starts it? Or are you the person that actually gets it started and completes it? One individual almost completes a task, but the other completes it. One student nearly passes the exam, the other person passes it. And although the difference in their marks may be only 1 percentage point out of 100, it is that 1 percentage point that makes all the difference in the world. The difference is whether or not you are prepared to write out a list of actions that are razor edge activities and then make a commitment to do them. Excellence is that fine line. It is only a commitment to completion. That's all excellence means. It's a commitment to completion. So you see, it doesn't matter how many books you read. The difference is you know what you have to do. Do you know that if you start something an hour early, or if you work an hour later, do you know that's 9 40-hour weeks that you enjoy each additional year? Just 1 more hour is a razor's edge activity that'll give you 9 40-hour weeks of productivity in your life, no matter what area of your life you're talking about. When are you going to do something about it? When are you going to sit down and actually list some things that you are definitely going to do, which are relatively simple things, and again, they're not easy. Anybody that ever tells us something is easy, they say that because they don't do it. There isn't anything that's easy. So what is the razor's edge activity for you? If you're employed in a sales capacity, consider the dynamic sales presentation which you could be developing in a month or two. If you simulated a sales presentation with an imaginary prospect or possibly one of your associates every day for 1 hour, imagine what would happen if you practice your craft every day. Imagine what would happen if you practice your craft as a parent, if you practice your craft in your profession, if you practice your craft in your family life, in your personal life, and with your friends. Can you imagine what would happen? Well, you see, if you're only going to try it for a week, I want to tell you now, don't do it, because the frustration will be worse than ever. If you're going to try it for 2 weeks, maybe. But if you want it to really work, I'll tell you this. You give the next 90 days of your life, the next 90 days of your life, the very best you've got, and I'll guarantee you one thing. Life will give you everything you want for the rest of your life. 90 days. The difference is really doing. And don't allow others, don't allow events to control your activity. Don't allow that.
I want you to focus on this sand timer. Let the sand in the glass represent your life. Let the sand in the bottom of the glass represent the past. The sand in the top of the glass will represent the future. Now really think about this. The sand in the bottom of the glass represents the past. Everything that has happened right up to this moment in your life has been absolutely essential to make you the person you are, to prepare you to do whatever it is you're going to do. I'm of the opinion that we never really know what we're preparing ourselves for. But if we're using the right ideas, we can be absolutely certain it's something great. The sand in the top of the glass represents the future. There's absolutely no way that any of us can tell how much sand there is in the top of our glass. You know, I remember my grandmother when I was just a little boy, because she pretty well raised me, she and my mother. But my mother worked all day, and Grandma was the one that was home when we were small. And Grandma came to live with us a year before I was born. My grandfather had passed away a year before I was born. So when I arrived on the scene, Grandma was already there. She would probably have been around 60 at that time. So in my mind, she was a very old lady. Now, I've since changed my attitude about that, but at that time, Grandma was way up there. And you know, every day of my life that Grandma spent with us, I think I heard her say, "I'll soon be gone, dear. I'll soon be gone." She was 94 when she left. 94. And from the time she was 60 until she was 94, she was saying, "I'll soon be gone." Now, around the same time, I had a young friend of mine, Bob Yates. Bob and I went everywhere. We did everything together. We were, as the saying goes, as thick as thieves. And he got his driver's license 2 or 3 months ahead of me. And Bob was coming in the Kingston Road Highway, and Bob was cutting on down to Kingston Road, and it was necessary to go under a concrete overpass. And as Bob come down there, wham, just like that, he hit that concrete overpass, and like that, Bob ran out of sand. 16. Now, that was a terrible impact in my life. I'll never forget it. But if you had asked Bob a half hour before that how much sand he had in the top of his glass, he probably would have said half a century for low. He didn't have a half an hour. Now, I choose to believe that we all hope that we're going to go to bed tonight. And we're going to get up tomorrow morning. We're going to go to bed tomorrow night. But none of us know with absolute certainty whether that's going to happen or not. See, the point is, you don't know how much future you've got. What's gone is gone. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Some of you have had divorces. Some of you have probably had bankruptcies. Some of you have had terrible things happen in the past. But what's gone is gone. It's in the past. And to spend your time focusing on the past is to spend the only thing that you've got, and that's what's right here, right now, because the sand never stops running. This is all we've got. And to spend your time now thinking of what happened there is making absolute certain that the future is going to be the same as the past. Now, I don't suppose many of us spend a lot of time thinking about that, but a lot of us spend a lot of time making that error. That's an excellent symbol. All you got is now. We're saying here, don't think in reverse. There's a great poem here, Forgive. I remember years and years ago, I suffered with headaches, terrible headaches. I got to the point where I was taking Bufferin for the headaches. Then I got to the point where I was taking Sinutab with codeine for headaches. There was 16 in the bottle, and I got to the point where I was taking 2 bottles a day. As a matter of fact, most times I didn't even remember my head not aching, but I was sort of numb all the time. Do you know what forgive means? Forgive means let go of completely, abandon, just let it go. Unequivocally, no strings attached. Now he said, if you want to rid yourself of headaches, just forgive all thoughts that are on your mind. And you just listen to me, and he put me in a totally relaxed state. I felt better than I had felt for years. If you're suffering from headaches, you're going to program your subconscious mind to put your body in a totally relaxed vibration, because you're going to find that your head is aching because of the things that you're not letting go of. And it's causing tension, and it's causing an abnormal state of vibration of the cells in the brain, which causes the blood to rush to the head. And as you put yourself in a totally relaxed state, you'll soon become programmed to relax. I know that I would not be able to do what I do as often as I do it, and as long as I do it, if I wasn't relaxed. I am just as relaxed here in front of you, or in front of this camera, as if I was sitting in my den, patting Ginger, my dog. Now, study that poem. Study the meaning of it. You say you'll never obtain any substantial measure of material wealth if you insist upon living your life as if you are looking back through your rearview mirror on your automobile. Nevertheless, it seems to be a very common error which many people have turned into a habit. Let the dead bury the dead. Let it go. I don't care how bad it was, let it go. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you look back in retrospect at that terrible thing that's happened, you're going to find it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to you. Advancement of all kinds is preceded by a crisis. The greater the crisis, the greater the opportunity for advancement. Or you could put it another way. You could say, out of all confusion comes order. A higher degree of order than that which existed prior to the confusion. Because you see, the confusion was a learning state. And when we're winning, we're having fun. And when we're losing, we're learning. Let's treat both of the experiences exactly the same. They're learning experiences. Now we say, remember the old adage which says, let the dead bury the dead. Stop looking back on your life and worrying about the things which have already occurred and which you can no longer alter. It's like trying to change the time you got out of bed this morning. You're never going to be able to do it. That stands for eternity. You cannot go back and change it, since you cannot let it go. Pursuing that kind of mental activity will never lead to anything worthwhile, any worthwhile accomplishment in your life. You should understand, moreover, that all accomplishments in your life, you should understand, moreover, that all of the great achievers of the past have been visionary figures. They did with their life what, like Scott was saying, he does with his music. He heard it in here. They see their life in here. They're building visions of a great future. It's a beautiful cycle that we're in. Looking into the past is a self-doom fulfilling cycle. You just keep getting it worse and worse and worse. We've all done it, so we know what it's like. These visionary figures were men and women who projected into the future, and they did not belabor over things which had already passed. They thought of what could be rather than what already was, and then they moved themselves into action to bring these things into fruition. Life is either a series of endings or a series of beginnings. Life is either a series of endings or a series of beginnings. If you're looking back, it's a series of endings. Look ahead. Something great is coming. Leland Bell Vanderwall said something when we were sitting having coffee, and I jotted it down. Every time this guy opens his mouth, he drops a pearl. I'm so wise. He said, let us not look back in anger, nor forward in fear, but around us in awareness. Boy, is there ever depth in that? Let's not look back in anger. Let's quit thinking in reverse. Nor forward in fear, but around us in awareness. Take all the resentments and guilts. Do you know what it's doing? Resentments and guilt is simply choosing to build a negative idea over something that someone did to you, and then letting ourselves get emotionally involved in it, and we move into the same vibration. Now think. I don't care how justified you may feel in holding a resentment. That's a dumb game. Ray Stanford used to tell me it was like throwing dust into a strong wind at someone else. You know where the dust is going to end up. You may feel justified, but I'm going to tell you, a person of understanding will not do it. Will not do it. That is an act, a mental act of ignorance. Love them. The law will see that they get their reward for what they did. You don't have to look after that. And as long as you're holding that resentment in your mind, it's like replaying the same thing over and over again. And the same physical experience is taking place. You're moving into that vibration. I had a good doctor friend of mine that says rheumatism or arthritis is nothing but frozen hate. It's dwelling on things like that. Dries up the joints in the body. What's guilt? I've done things in the past I'm not proud of. I'm quite certain you have. Many of you. And they bothered me for a long time. They really did. And I wasn't able to get rid of it. So I went to see a psychiatrist. He ended up working with us. And just through a series of right questions, I developed an awareness. It was gone. I have absolutely no guilt anymore. I just will not tolerate it. That's looking back at something you did that you thought was wrong in the past and reliving it. And the same vibration takes place. You see, resentment and guilt are very closely aligned. One's directed towards someone else, the other's directed towards yourself. But you're the beneficiary of both, and neither one of them are positive. Most destructive emotions that you could get involved in. I willingly release the thoughts and things that clutter my mind. They're all the old ones in there that you're not even aware of. And then say, I release whoever it is. Name them all to their highest good. That means happiness, health, and prosperity. Just release them. The person could be dead. It's not the person that's causing the problem. It's the remembrance. It's the idea. I release them to their highest good and me to mine. And you see them happy, healthy, and prosperous. And you see yourself happy, healthy, and prosperous. And then you say, it is so. Thank you, Father. Father being infinite power. If you have been guilty of allowing your sales sheet, your bank account, or the x-rays your doctor takes of your body to control the way you feel or think or view your sales, your financial position, or your health, I can assure you that just as certain as it's going to get dark tonight, there will not be any marked improvement in your life in any of these areas. There won't be. You've got to realize that the results you're getting has been controlled by the way you think. And I said, what you want to do is keep your mind on a higher image rather than a lower concern. You take this magnificent power and you build the picture in here that you want. And you let yourself get emotionally involved in that picture. Record your goals, record your affirmations, your positive statements to yourself, and in your own voice, one that you trust. I trust my own voice. Some people don't, you know, Dave. I want you to think. You want, and I want, greater good here. Positive things to happen. But understand this. You must create a space for the good that you desire. I would hate to guess at the number of people that would love to meet and greet and love and have a meaningful relationship with someone, and they're never going to do it until they let go of that old relationship. Person may be gone, but the idea is still there. You've got to create a space for the good that you desire. You just must do it. And if you don't, you're never going to have that relationship. You've got to create a space for it. Here's a beautiful poem by Beer. He said, to get he had tried, yet his store was still meager. To a wise man he cried in a voice keen and eager, pray tell me, how may I successfully live? And the wise man replied, to get, you got to give. To get, you got to give. As to giving, he said, what have I to give? I've scarce enough bread, and of course, one must live. But I would partake of life's bountiful store. Came the wise man's response, then you must give more. The lesson he learned, to get, was forgotten. Think of the number of people out trying to get. Toward mankind he turned with a love new begotten. As he gave of himself in useful living, then joy crowned his days, for he grew rich in giving. You ought to take part of all you get and put it back where it came from. If a farmer doesn't do that, you're soon going to have a poor farmer. They are what you call dumb farmers. The farmer takes part of his crop, puts it back in the ground. And if you don't take part of all you receive and put it back where you got it from, you're not going to get much more. We hold on to old ideas. Why do we do all these things? We're insecure. We're insecure. Remember how physical we are? We've got lots of physical things around us. We feel comfortable. And the more we learn about ourselves, the less we need all these things around us. Some people are real pack rats. It not only works with physical things, it works with mental things. Because remember, the physical and the mental, the non-physical, are all the same. You must create a space for the good that you desire. I want to suggest that you stop and think of some of the ideas that you had locked into your mind. Make up your mind that you are going to create a vacuum by letting go of that old idea and accepting the new idea. Create a space for the good that you desire. I was talking to a manager of a sales operation. He was telling me he wanted more people working in his office. I said, do you have an empty desk? And he said, no. I said, you haven't got any space for one. I said, create a space for one. Get the desk. Put the phone on it. Put everything there that you need. And I said, before long, there'll be somebody behind the desk. And if you doubt me, you try it. If you doubt me, you try it. Use something that'll really stretch your mind. Repetition is one of the keys to success. We suggested that you make a commitment and you write your commitment out. Put it in writing. We suggested you make a number of affirmations, positive statements from yourself to yourself. I read one time where it said the mark of a superior performer is an individual that can give themselves a command and then follow it. We recommended that you write your goal out and that you relax. Redefine the goal. See yourself as the person you want to be. Now, do you see, the old conditioning or habit would cause you to just leave that there. You take your voice, it's a voice you trust. Your mind is used to your voice. You write down your affirmations. You write out your commitment, and you write out your goal in the present tense, and put as much feeling as you can, and you're going to find that your life will never be the same again. You can have the things you want, all of them, and you will have them by incorporating these messages into your life. Roosevelt said, only those are fit to live who do not fear to die. And none are fit to die who have shrunk from the joy of life. Both life and death are parts of the same great adventure. All of us who provide service and stand ready for sacrifice are the torchbearers. We run with the torches until we fall, content if we can pass them to the hands of the other runners. If you want to experience real joy in your life, you follow the advice in that quote. Be a torchbearer. Pass on something good. Give up something so you can. And you'll always get more back so you can pass on more of something good. There's a beautiful poem, and it's a poem that I fell in love with many years ago. And in that poem, he said, every single blade of grass and every flake of snow was just a wee bit different. There's no two alike, you know. From something small like grains of sand to each gigantic star, each one was made with this in mind, to be just what they are. How foolish then to imitate, and how useless to pretend when each one of us comes from a mind whose ideas never end. Do you know there'll only be just one of me to show what I can do? And likewise, you should feel very proud that there's only one of you, because that's where it all starts, with you, a wonderful, unlimited human being.